Good evening, everybody. Hope you're having a good evening despite the hangover nature of this Monday. And we got to start taking a deeper look at our most recent game, the disappointing loss to the Las Vegas Raiders. We got to dig a little deeper here, and that's going to start with Snap Count Monday. So we're going to take a look at some of these snap counts, see what's up, see if we can learn anything, try to figure out if the team is on some level maybe moving in the right direction. Maybe they are. There are some things here that I don't mind. But obviously, overall, there was a lot of disappointment in that game, and we got to start trying to figure out where it happened and why it happened. So let's just jump right in, starting with the running backs, as always. This was better. This is better. We played 65 snaps in this game, just to start off with that. 65. And Ken Walker got 46. He got one more snap than he did the previous week, a game where we had 52 snaps. So there was actually a concerted effort to not have Walker be the only one carrying the load. Now, the question is that because we felt like Walker wasn't playing well, or because we just thought it was time to make sure everybody got a fair share of the workload and we didn't want to over encumber him? I don't know. Obviously, Walker didn't play a very good game. It's hard for me to put very much on him personally because I'm just looking at these plays where Blythe and Jackson in particular are getting blown up in run blocking, especially Blythe. And I'm just trying to figure, what is he supposed to do? There have been plays where Walker has made mistakes. There have been plays where he's danced too much. There have definitely been plays where he hasn't done his job very well. But hard for me to say that he was responsible for what happened on Sunday, where he averaged less than 2 yards a carry. Just felt like there wasn't a whole lot for him to work with. But either way, however it happened, I do like the fact that Travis Homer got 13 snaps and that DJ Dallas got 9. You're heading in the right direction now. You're giving Ken Walker a lot of attention. You're giving him a lot of opportunities, but you are spelling him appropriately. I like this. So if you could keep up some kind of ratio like this the rest of the year, I'd feel pretty good about that. Wide receiver, you've got Metcalf with 59 and Lockett with 57, so they're both basically just kind of going back and forth for who has the most snaps from game to game. They're very close to even though Metcalf missed most of the game against the Chargers. Eskridge, obviously now on IR. Goodwin had 29 snaps, so he played about half the game, and nobody else really got all that much. Treadwell had 7, Derek had 1. So pretty clear how the Seahawks are going to manage without Dwayne Eskridge. They're going to just kind of go with their 2 outside receivers, mostly full-time. Goodwin plays about half. He got slightly less than half the snaps in this game. And then everyone else just kind of gets whatever, and we go with a lot of 2 and 3 tight end looks to make up for it. So nothing too shocking, nothing too groundbreaking. But I do find it interesting that Treadwell got 7 snaps because I didn't actually notice. That doesn't necessarily mean anything. I just didn't really notice him out there 7 times. Noah Fant had 40 snaps for the tight ends, and Will Dissly had 48. So we kind of got back on track in terms of how much our tight ends were on the field. Fant had a couple nice plays in the passing game, and I saw him throw some nice blocks. Dissly had the brutal drop, admittedly. I mean, it's a drop. It's a bad drop, and it killed a drive. That was frustrating because Dissly, his calling card is his great hands, and that's 2 pretty stone cold drops he has this year now. Not a big deal, but by my count, Dissly has 2 drops this year. Metcalf has 4. Metcalf gets targeted way more. Do the math. Like, DK's the guy who everyone kills for having terrible hands, which he doesn't have, by the way. And if Dissly's dropping them at about the same or even a higher rate, then I don't know. That's just a little frustrating because hands were supposed to be Dissly's thing. But I'm not going to say he played a bad game, but he didn't have a big impact. He was out there a lot. Colby saw his usage cut a little bit. He was out there for about a quarter of the snaps, down a little bit from where he's been most of the year. Still utilized, not insignificantly. Let's just call it that. So Colby 16 snaps, about quarter of the game. Offensive line, there's not much to say here. Everybody played every snap except for Gabe Jackson. He played 39. Phil Haynes took the 26. I don't know if the timeshare is working very well at this point. To me, Gabe Jackson is a guy who stands out as not really performing in the last couple games. Him and Blythe seem to be the guys who put themselves on the highlight reel in a negative way the most right now. So you've got Phil Haynes, who is overall just playing better than Gabe Jackson right now, to my eye. As near as I can tell, Phil Haynes is playing better. And it's not like this timeshare thing with Gabe Jackson has been working the last couple games. I don't feel like it is. It worked for a little bit there when you were splitting the snaps between Gabe and Phil. But I kind of feel like that's already worn off a little bit, and we might just be better off going to Phil Haynes full time and telling Gabe Jackson, look, you're coming off the bench. But nothing else to report here. Going over to the defense, this is the part of the team where the lack of performance kicked in. And first problem, 77 snaps, because you can't get off the field on third down. We have now played 772 snaps on defense, and on offense we played 690. So we have played like a game and a half worth of extra snaps on defense now. Our defense is playing over the course of these 11 games like a game and a half extra just in the additional number of snaps they have to deal with. So this is a problem that was there last year. It's here again this year. And it does go to show you that even though pretty much everything about this team is better compared to last year on offense, you can still say they're not doing the greatest job of staying on the field the way they need to give the defense a blow. It's a work in progress. You're always trying to get better. It's not necessarily something I would critique because the offense is so much better than it was last year. But you can see how in some of these games, you're struggling to stay on the field and your defense is kind of getting hung out to dry. But obviously the bigger story there is just the defense needs to get off the field on third down. That's the actual area of the team where you can say things are bad. And you can see there was a concerted effort on the defensive line this week. We had 6 active defensive linemen play in this game. Nobody got more than 45 snaps. We actually did a pretty good job rotating guys in and out. Puna Ford, 33. Al Woods, 35. Monet, 21. Harris, 45. He's our best defensive lineman. Him playing the most makes sense to me. Quentin Jefferson, 39. LJ Collier, 17. So we were rotating in 6 different guys, which, hey, that's good. We needed to do that, and we didn't give anybody too huge of a workload. I will say there were a few too many two-man fronts in neutral situations for me still. I that's just not going to work. But I'm going to talk more about this later this week. I think there's another problem here that I don't want to bury just because the two-man fronts are nonsensical. There's a bigger point here. You can see that in this game we did play more defensive linemen, and yet we had maybe our worst game of the year on defense. Maybe other than the Saints game, right? Maybe. It's up there. It's up there with one of the worst defensive performances of the year. And the point that you kind of have to settle on here is that this defensive line just isn't that good. These players are not good enough. Maybe Shelby Harris is the one guy who I think is actually good on this defensive line. Everyone else, maybe they could succeed in a very specific role, but at this point it's hard to argue that any of them are really good right now. More on that later, though. Moving on to the edge rushers, we are officially in, what's the worst one? DEFCON 1? We are officially in DEFCON 1 with Darrell Taylor. If he keeps this up, he's not even going to get to play, because not only did he barely play despite being healthy in this game, 18 snaps, he did nothing, no impact in that game whatsoever. And for a guy who I was really, really high on this offseason and really thought he was going to be the next great Seattle pass rusher, at this point, I don't even know if he belongs in the NFL. He's obviously terrible against the run. Even if he is good in coverage, who cares? That's not his job. And now he's not even getting to the quarterback. Earlier in the year, he was. Now he can barely get on the field. We are very close. We are getting very close to a point where Darrell Taylor hits the pine permanently and gets his job taken by either Alton Robinson or Onu Giogu. And what a fall from grace for a guy who I really thought was going to be a stud this year. Nothing from him, nothing from Nwosu. I'm not going to act like Nwosu's a bad player now. I'm not going to do that. We're probably playing him too many snaps. He's probably exhausted at this point because he played 60 plus snaps in a couple games this year. But not much from him. I didn't notice anything from Mafe. Now, Mafe being a raw rookie is somebody who I'm not going to expect the world from, so I'm not upset about that. It's part of the process. The reality is we need the veterans in front of him to be producing more so Mafe doesn't need to be the linchpin player to our pass rush. And Bruce Irvin got 53 snaps. Our edge situation has gotten so precarious that Bruce Irvin, who was on the couch a month and a half ago, is now playing 53 snaps in a game. And the irony is, and this is not me hating on Bruce specifically, because he probably played the best game of any of our edge players. Like, Bruce Irvin probably played better than anybody else on the edge, just because he recovered what should have been a fumble on the Josh Jacobs play. But the problem is, you've got a guy who was sitting on the couch a month and a half ago, and now he's like is he your star edge player? He pretty much is. So this should not be happening. It's a cool story. I'm happy for Bruce. He's playing okay, but still, he's not providing he's not providing dominant pressure or anything. You needed dominant pressure from guys like Darrell Taylor, and right now he's giving you nothing. So this has become an area of obvious need for the Seahawks. A Darrell Taylor at this point, like, he could be released from this team tomorrow, and I wouldn't even care. Like, it's been so rough this year. I'm kind of over that. Who the heck knows with a guy like Mafe? I think he'll be good, but who knows? You need edge help. So something to keep in mind as we move into the offseason. We need edge help. Inside linebacker, Brooks played every snap like he basically always does. That's fine. Cody Barton, though, after a good month of him playing maybe half the snaps overall, slightly less, right around half, last 2 games he's suddenly on the field constantly. And I think some of it is opposing teams realizing if they force him onto the field with their offensive sets, the good things are going to happen. 2 games in a row now, we've been run all over. 2 games in a row where Cody Barton was on the field most of the time. I don't think these things are... Look, Cody Barton made some positive plays out there, don't get me wrong. Like the second Quandre pick, he made a great play in coverage. Cody Barton is showing that he is a good athlete. He's fast. He's good in coverage. But when he's out there, we really struggle to stop the run because he can't deal with blocks. He doesn't know how to shed blocks at all. And that's a problem, as we've really seen the last 2 weeks. So this problem is not going away. And like the defensive line problem that I already mentioned with those guys just not being that good, I don't know if there's a recourse for this season, which, hey, we're late in the season anyway, so it is what it is, but I don't know what's going to get better the next couple of weeks. I just don't. Cornerback, Tariq Woolen played every snap. Of course, Jackson played all but 3 snaps. I think he got hurt at one point in this game, came out a little bit, went back in pretty quickly. Kobe Bryant played 53 snaps, got robbed of a forced fumble. Overall, I thought he played okay, probably a little better than he did against Tampa or Arizona when he struggled a little bit. Still has some issues playing that position, but that's just going to be something we have to live with for the rest of the year. He's not he's not really built for it, but he's doing the best that he can, and he is finding a way to make some positive plays out there. I like it. Trey Brown got 3 snaps in this game, and I think they were on the first drive of the game, 3 and out. Oh, I'm sorry. I said a second ago Jackson got hurt in this game. He didn't. It was Ryan Neal who got hurt at the end. Trey Brown went in for 3 plays in place of Michael Jackson. Just trying to get his feet wet, just trying to get familiar with things. Not much to say about it yet. He played 3 plays. He held up fine. He didn't melt into a million pieces or something, so good. And Ryan Neal played every snap but 1, and that 1 snap was the 86-yard Bo Jackson run by Josh Jacobs. So, yeah, could have used him out there because you may notice on that play, Josh Jones, terrible angle. Yeah, we need Ryan Neal back. We don't know if he's going to be able to play this week, but if he can't play, this could be a disaster. Quandre Diggs played every snap. Josh Jones played 10 snaps, which in this game seemed like 10 snaps too many. I didn't see any of the stuff with Josh Jones that I've liked recently. I only saw the stuff that I didn't like. So, bleh. All right. See you guys later. Go Hawks. Let me know what you think down below.